Guys, it's time to open up the axle on the Redcat Gen 8 truck. Take a look. Okay, let's work on removing this front axle. To remove the front axle, you take this loose, that loose. It's a 2mm hex wrench, goes into there, and then that's a 5.5mm nut to fit on that. And you have one up in there on the top link. We're going to pull the wheels and tires off, of course. Take the steering link loose right here. And we also have to take the panhard bar loose, which is right there. And just to make this easy for me, I'm going to take the shocks loose at the top and just drop the entire assembly down. And here's the front axle. It looks fairly good. Now the plastic that Redcat has used is pretty darn strong. I mean, it's real impressive. I mean, just the plastic itself, the feel, the rigidity is really nice. Now these right here look a little bit thin, but they're actually pretty darn strong. I've been using these same axles, or not these axles, but the beta versions on my Portal play truck, and I actually have my shock over here on the side of these, and they're taking the abuse. Haven't broke one yet, and I've jumped it quite a bit. But anyway, I'm going to remove this knuckle right here and show you guys what's inside of this. This is the same thing, so I'm not going to open that. I'm going to pull the diff cover off and show you guys the gears inside and check it off for grease. Oh yeah, right here is a nice little feature. It's actual adjustment for your toe. You don't see that very often. If you happen to do this to your truck, look at that little piece right there. These are little bushings. Make sure you don't lose those. Those are real important because they keep everything tight, and that's what actually pivots inside your C-hub. That tightens down and all that pivots together. So make sure you don't lose those if you take your front axle apart. And the Portal. Now this is actually designed, as far as the axle goes, to go up to 50 degrees, which is a pretty good bit. The axle housing and the assembly is good to 47 degrees. So let's go ahead and open this up. Well, hold on. You can see how this big bearing right here, oh yeah, the CVD, the pin is actually held in with the bearing, and this whole assembly just kind of holds itself together. To take this assembly out, you take these 3 screws and the bearing and the whole top gear come right out the back side. To get into the planetary, you got to remove these 6 screws that I have loose. Hopefully they're loose enough to allow me to open this up without making a complete disaster. Let's see. Yes. And now you can see the internal gears. Bearings, I'm probably going to drop these screws now, but that is a lot of beef. That's more Mod 1 stuff, man. I like that. Nice quality looking steel too. I like that. Now this does look a little bit dry, so I'm going to add some grease to this before I assemble it. But man, this thing looks good. I like it. When you take the 3 screws that hold this bearing in place out, that's when you get the entire gear assembly. And now when you remove the bearing, you have to be careful because you can lose that pin. That pin will fall right out if you're not careful. I mean, sometimes they absolutely will fall out. But the gear looks really nice. Oh, it does have a little bit of grease in it. I'm going to add a little more. So now that I've shown you the Portal gears and how that goes together, you use a 1.5mm hex wrench and take these 6 screws out. One more thing about the Portal, if you do find yourself needing to service it, just the Portal gear itself, you don't have to pull the whole axle out. Just take the tire off and remove those 6 screws, 1.5mm hex again, and the assembly just kind of pops right off. So real easy to service these Portal gears. With the screws out, let's lift it. Wow, they greased that up nice. Looks like a nice quality gear too. I like it. Probably standard 10 by 15 by 4 bearings, which you'll find everywhere. And I'm not going to pull this part out, the pinion gear. There's just no need to even look at that because it's pretty much standard issue. But very nice, and it's well greased. If you find yourself needing to service the pinion gear, it's just a few more steps, okay? Take your steering knuckles off, both sides, and the axles come out with it. Remove the diff cover, and then at that point the ring gear and spool will just fall out. Hopefully, you may have to pry it out a little bit or give it a tap. Take the drive shaft off, and you may have to heat this to get this set pin out because that thing can be a major pain. And then the whole pinion gear just simply slides that direction. So to get started with this rear axle assembly, I'm going to first remove the wheels and tires, and then I'm going to take the shocks loose. I can just pop these loose here and here, and then just take those bolts loose. Those require a 2mm hex wrench, and I'm just going to let the drive shaft slip right out. Here we have the rear axle. I'm going to pull the portal covers off and check them for grease and show you guys what's inside of there, which should be almost the same thing as the front minus the moving CVD part. Pull the diff cover and check that as well. Okay, with the 6 screws removed with a 1.5mm hex wrench, let's take a look. There's the axle, and here are the portal gears. Let's see. That's your top gear, which is nice. Now this may look a little bit thin around here, but there's a bearing that rides out there, which kind of helps hold that together under extreme loads. Let's see if I can get this assembly out. Nice bearings, I like those. And here is the shaft, the gear, and the top gear again. Mod 1 gears. Again, very nice. These are the rear axle shafts themselves. There's a lot of beef to this thing. Now, if by chance you somehow manage to break one of these axles, which will be pretty awesome, you must have done something crazy, you'll pretty much just wring the end off right here. That's what you'll break. If you break this, please send me some pictures. That's going to be awesome. I've got both axles out. I'm going to remove these screws with a 1.5mm hex wrench, and we are going to drop the ring gear out and show you guys the pinion gear. Bolts are out. Let's take a look. Again, just like the front, it is greased nicely. See if it'll come out. Very nice piece, and this is the same assembly that's in the front as well. There's your pinion gear. I'm going to set this over here. I'm going to remove the drive shaft and drop the pinion gear out. Okay, there is the pinion gear. It is not cheap aluminum. Looks like decent steel. Very nice. Bearings are decent as well. Look at all that grease. Yes. Now it's time to put all this back together. And it's back in, and I have no leftover screws. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully you guys saw what you needed to see. The axles are, in my opinion, built well. I don't foresee any major issues with them unless there's something I just completely did not see. The ring and pinions were greased well. The portals needed a little bit of grease to them, so I did add some to that. But other than that, they were ready to go. I mean, really nice portal axles. A very clean design as well. So guys, hopefully I showed you what you needed to see, and as always, thank you all for watching.